2230 Walton Way in the Garden City of Augusta, Georgia, home of the Augusta University Jaguars, Medical College of Georgia, the Episcopal Day School Panthers, birthplace of the godfather of soul and Jesse Norman, and where the birds sing and the deer and the antelope play. Welcome. We have so many things to be thankful for living here in Augusta, but we might want to shut down the visitors and convention bureau because if you live in a big city these days, you might be thinking about moving to someplace else, and so we like it just the way it is here in Augusta. It is a beautiful morning here in the churchyard. The sky is already blue. The birds, of course, just sing up a storm here in Augusta. They don't do that in other places. It's really nice to be outside. The breeze is gentle. And so I'm going to turn to our resident meteorologist, Andy Minger. Andy, what's the weather forecast here? Have we turned the corner into summertime now?
I think we're making that turn, Robert. As every day goes by, I think we're going to get warmer and warmer.
Temperatures are going up today. I suppose the humidity will be close behind, and we'll all be miserable again in the heat and the humidity of Augusta. That should keep people away.
As long as COVID is miserable too, it's all right.
Yeah, we will hope for some little seasonal assistance there. Okay. Well, while we're on that subject, Dr. Bowden, Father Dr. Bowden, what's the viral update that we ought to have this morning? I know I have my mask, and there you go. And I think it ought to become socially unacceptable for anybody to appear in a place like a store without a mask on. I would just say I think it's okay to be judgmental. Jesus cautions us against judging one another, but if you see somebody out in public who's in the grocery store or the Target or wherever you are and they don't have a mask on, you ought to look down your long, judgmental, self-righteous nose at, well, actually, what you'll have to do is you'll have to drop your mask so you can look down your long, judgmental nose at them and kind of send the message, what kind of a person are you? What kind of a disrespectful, careless, callous person are you to come out in public and spray everybody with your considerable aerosol? So what's the latest on that, Joe? I know 6 feet, which is a lot, is not enough. My little admonishment this morning is occasionally I see all the younger Augusta moms out walking, and I've seen them in herds, like 6, 8 of them, and they are not keeping any physical distance. I guess they think because they're outside, they're safe. Or maybe they think because it's one of their good friends, they're not infected. But it is just a little bit worrisome to me to see them just going down the road in a hurry, talking up a storm, of course, breathing a little harder, and they're easily within 3 feet of each other or something like that. Just a gaggle of them going down the way there. So, Joe, give us an update. What do we need to be thinking about? What's changed? Are we safer now?
Very little has changed. If you look at the numbers, they continue to go up. As you look at the paper every day or the CDC website, the numbers are going up. And of course, the numbers are relative and they're not that reliable in terms of the actual people that are infected because the sample is very small. But what numbers we have continue to go on up. And in spite of that, the governor of the state of Georgia made a very controversial decision to stand down on the shelter in place. What has it been, about a week now? I guess a week ago Friday or something. Well, no, it's Friday. Everybody can kind of loosen a little bit, with the exception of 3 out of the 4 people sitting at this table. almost 80 years, 65 years.
I'm right at 70.
You're right at 70, so.
40.
40.
I know.
Freshman from Hollywood this morning is Assistant Rector Lynn Prather, 40 years old and counting, holding, whatever.
It'll be a while before we can get any handle on whether this decision is going to cause a spike or a surge or anything. It's a little too soon to tell, but it just makes sense if people are going to gather, like you said, again, then the infection rates are going to go up because we give it to each other in several different ways. And it's hard to say anything solid about this because each day just about there's new information, and that new information changes our understanding of this. We're very infantile in our knowledge of COVID-19. We're making suppositions and decisions based on SARS, CoV-2, which was actually showed up in 2002. Still no vaccine that's effective for that, by the way, for a long time. And so each day, it's up to each of us to continue to keep ourselves as informed as we possibly can so we can make practical, common sense decisions about what we do in terms of gathering together again. Now the mask, it's been recommended that when you go out into a place, wear a mask, everybody. If you look at pictures of people in Asian countries going down the streets, everybody's got a mask on. They've had them on for years. That's just nothing new right there. But you will, at least theoretically, can't prove this, if I've got it and I cough and it absorbs in that mask and it doesn't go that 6 feet or 10 feet or whatever it is,
Or 27
or
with,
27
Robert
feet, if I
Payne
get a
cough.
good old sneeze there, and if you've got it on, it'll absorb that. Now, if just when you got nothing else to do, Google mask. There are more entrepreneurs showing up, making all kind of masks. The front page of the paper today, there, these 3D printable masks are coming out in the guide. And see, these things are untested, and you don't know, but it just makes sense. And the more layers a mask is made of, the harder that virus is going to have getting through it. But even the N95 mask, it has a filter size of 3 microns. The coronavirus is 1 micron. So it can get even those high-tech masks, it can get in it. The respirators are the one that circulate air and oxygen and all that. Those are the most effective, but nobody's going to get those. But it's multiple layers. So those of you that are making masks, at least 3 layers of cloth, I would say that'll enhance it and catch them in. And after every time you come back in, take it off, wash it. So you need several masks to cycle those things. But the current knowledge is we're still getting knowledge each day.
All right, and speaking of masks, you know, it's wonderful. June has been making some for us. Who's been helping her, Roger? Who are our masked seamstresses out there?
Kathleen Barnhart.
Kathleen Barnhart, shout out for all of
Dan
them. But
Jackson.
if you need a mask, call in this morning to Roger or Emily, because we want to keep making these available. Everybody should wear one of these when they go. I don't think you have to wear one out to go for a walk, but when you go into a public place and are going to encounter you, and the first thing is, of course, this is a courtesy to other people. You are trying to protect other people in the event you are shedding the virus. And then there's a little protection for you. And I was glad to see more and more people are saying, why are you wearing gloves? That's stupid. I mean, gloves, if you don't wash them after everything you touch or take them, I mean, gloves don't really offer any protection, you know, from that. You got to be washing those hands, not touching your face, and being vigilant. I used to be in the Navy, and I was proud to be a ship driver and all that, black shoe ship driving type naval officer. And but a ship at sea is a dangerous thing, and the captain is responsible for it. And you know, the captain's got to go to sleep every once in a while, but he has his thing as a notebook. It's called the Standing Night Orders. And it tells you what's happening in the ship through the night, or what course changes we'll make, or speed changes, or evolutions, or anything like that. But there are always three kind of printed things. One was call me if there's any doubt, but the second one was eternal vigilance is the price of safety. And you just have to do that, because the tragedy is the one moment you drop your guard, you grab that doorknob down there, or you touch that pad at the teller at the bank, and then you inadvertently, and you've given the virus a pathway. And, you may be infected. All right, we've got some input from out there. What have we got? Who's first? Emily, go ahead.
Oh, Lane Garrett wants to know from Joe if they can spray the masks with Lysol.
And I don't have any information that protects you anymore. Washing it with soap and water and putting it in the dryer is the best thing to do.
Joe, I read an article just the other day on the internet where Lysol company was encouraging people not to do that because you're breathing in some pretty strong chemicals.
Yeah, we know that the president said, we got disinfectants, and so why don't we give people disinfectants? He said that in one of his press conferences I was watching, and I just shook my head,
More to the story, more to the story.
It was in jest.
Yeah.
No, don't rely on those things. Anything other than your hands and the surfaces.
The Lysol is to kind of try and clean the air.
And Joe, you said early on that you gave a particular temp that you said the heat is really what will kill.
130.
Yeah, it's 133 degrees, I think,
To
is
toss that in the
is
dryer.
what it destroys the virus. And as I understand it, not being that good a housewife, but I think dryers, at least what I was able to read, because I was checking that out, a dryer on high is 130 degrees.
And that'll kill.
And yes.
Yeah.
How many minutes? How many minutes?
15, 10, 15.
I don't know. Don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if it's zapped like a ray gun or something like that at 130 degrees or what. But I mean, in whatever time it takes to dry it, which shouldn't be too long. But that question I cannot answer.
So how's that housewife practice coming?
House husband.
House husband.
House
Sorry.
husband.
Yeah.
All you girls out there in TV land should be very envious that Sissy has me. She's one lucky girl. Hey, sis, good morning.
She's the breadwinner now at 3409
That's right,
Wheeler Road. Working in the coal mine all day long. Okay, very good. Roger, what do we got?
The current mass team to say thank you to is B. Atkinson, Sarah Reinke, and Kathleen Barnhart, along with June Grenade.
Good. Thank you to them. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
All right. So we have a little bit to celebrate today. Well, let's see here. First thing we'll celebrate here. Somebody had a birthday last week. Lynn, who had a birthday?
I believe it was Harriet.
Harriet
Dees had a
birthday. Well, come down here, Harriet. Stand at the corner of the table. Let's sing happy birthday to Harriet. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Harriet.
Happy birthday to you.
We actually, the clergy have a little present. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Harriet.
Happy birthday, and thanks for all you do for us, for Good Shepherd. Okay, very good. Thank you. Yeah, we're in violation of the 1940 6-foot rule all the time. Okay. A couple of other things. We're missing Nancy Payne this week. She has gone on to her reward at, I think, 91 years of age, not related to the virus. And so we just miss her. We have a saying, most everybody's familiar with saying, rest in peace, R.I.P. There's another piece to that, which is called Rising Glory, R.I.P., R.I.G., rest in peace, Rising Glory. And so Nancy is, I bet she didn't rest in peace long, okay? Poor old God has got his hands full now. Never get a word in edgewise ever again. And then we will have coming out this week, Shepherd's Voice. Roger's working on it, Jared Chambers, Cammie Jones, a number of interesting articles. So that's finishing touches are being put on that, and you'll be able to see that, pick it up here next week, all that, read it, all those kinds of good things. Okay, anything else we need to mention, just kind of nuts and bolts things about life at,
Can I mention Kenya?
yes. Oh, Kenya, please.
I've
on
I've
Kenya.
received a long email from Bishop Zach in Kenya. They're really being hit hard by coronavirus. They're calling it the death sickness. It's wiping out people. The medical care there is basically zero. Food is available, but it is incredibly expensive. So if you've got an extra $5 or $10 or $100, after you've given to Good Shepherd, please help us out with the Kenyan Fund, just designated Kenya Fund. They're in desperate need of money for food. So if you're available to do that, thank you, and God bless you.
Right, we had heard this, one, let's remember, I mean, again, even in the midst of this thing, we're still so blessed to be here in our country trying to deal with it and live with it. And and then we also, I think it's always good to remember the people who make our life go on. I mean, those healthcare people, first responders, folks working in the grocery stores, folks driving trucks, folks harvesting food, preparing food, all that. A lot of people really are on the front line, and it's been very touching to me to see how the military people, the people who typically, well, we understand that as being courageous or putting yourself at risk for the sake of your country, and how much they have lauded. I saw the other day the folks who went up to New York, all these healthcare doctors, nurses went up there, they finished. They're fortunately the situation there has improved enough to where they can go home. But all the New York police, they formed a corridor and they were applauding them as they, left the hospital for the last time to return to their homes. So let's never stop to pray for their safety and to give thanks for them. Okay, anything else about Good Shepherd we'll talk about? Okay, good. Will?
Just our worship situation.
We're going to do that. Yes. Before we move on.
No, now that we have moved on, Bob Young wants to know when we can worship.
When we can worship. Well, at 10 o'clock this morning. Is that what he means?
Well, I'm scrolling back through the comments.
Chatter, does he mean?
Worship together and receive communion.
Worship. Excellent. Excellent. Well, that's the theme for today's little conversation, the rest of it, and that's when will I see you again? Song, if you can identify that song. We have Bunny's chocolate ears still left over from Easter Day. They'll be yours for the asking. Who will come up with it first? Well, Laura Murphy once again beat everybody to the punch on identifying the artist who sang that song. Or will we have a generational conflict between when a song first came out in the 60s and was re-released with a different set of artists in the 90s or something like that. But anyway, that is our subject today. When will we see you again? So just today, we'll talk a little bit about this. It's Good Shepherd Sunday. The service today is Holy Communion. We will be celebrating the Holy Eucharist this morning at Good Shepherd, and just emphasizing for all who are there in heart and mind and spirit that we will all have the benefit of receiving the sacrament. That's long been a tenet in the Anglican approach to Eucharistic theology, for instance, in the ministration of the sick, if you are not able, and so if you are not able due to some kind of health or other issue to receive the sacrament, but it is your desire to do so, then you have the benefit of it. So that will be, we'll celebrate Holy Communion this morning, but no one will consume the sacrament. Our our sense is, as clergy, you know, until we can all do this together, none of us will do it, and so we'll reserve it. Yes, go ahead.
Donna Summers,
Donna Summers, nope.
Shaka Khan,
Chaka Khan, nope.
the 3 degrees.
3 degrees, that's
That's
the right
Jack
answer.
Spees. Jack
Who-
Spees.
Who came up with that?
Jack Spees.
Jack Spees, okay.
Way to go, Jack.
Jack, you are the winner of a box of 5-week-old chocolate candy. Okay? Congratulations to you and happy Easter. So when will we see you again? What we want to talk about this morning is we really do want to hear from you. We want to talk less and hear from you. So when will we see you again? Okay, I guess the first answer to that question is, well, I don't know, but I know it won't be in May. So the Bishop of Georgia has said that he will not authorize what we call in-person worship until the state has met the guidelines that the President and the White House set forward for us, which is, I think, 14 consecutive days of decline in key statistics and a sense that there's enough testing available to make it safe. So
2.5% of the population was the number that came from the
Was-
federal
was that-
government. And
okay.
Once you have tested 2.5% of the population, that's the current number, and it seems very arbitrary to me. I think like they just made it up out of the clear blue sky without anything to base it on, but that is the number at the moment.
at the moment. Well, that was Bishop Scott's guidelines for us. Now, let's just take a moment here and let's all give Scott, our bishop, the
Yeah.
10th Bishop of Georgia. He is on his last leg, and he's not flailing by any stretch. He is going to burst through the tape on May 30th, but that will be his last day as the 10th Bishop of Georgia. And on that day in the city of Savannah, the sea city of Savannah, the Reverend Canon Frank Loeb will be consecrated as the 11th Bishop of Georgia. Here very soon we'll be celebrating a bicentennial in our diocese, and so it's amazing. In 200 years we've just been served by Frank will be the 11th bishop. So Frank will be making that decision, so it's not happening in May. It might happen in June. I think I've seen some things from the Presbyterian Church that not before June 22nd. So I don't know where we'll be. I know that what the bishop and Frank have determined is we'll meet the White House guidelines, and then it will maybe not be the whole diocese, but regions of the diocese will may very well have different circumstances. And so that's when that happens. That word will then come down from Bishop Loeb for Augusta, and then we'll take that into our consideration. They've been very good about, just providing guidance and asking all the clergy and the vestries to take the responsibility for making that decision as is best for them. But we want to thank Bishop Ben Hayes. Great job, Bishop Ben Hayes. He has been an excellent bishop and just done so much for the diocese. Wish him well. He's in the process this month of moving to Durham, good old back to Durham, North Carolina. And he and his wife Kelly, and he'll take up some more duties there, but we will miss him, and we're just grateful for his leadership. He has been an excellent bishop and a good and faithful servant of our Lord and a good Orthodox believer and Christian, and we're just grateful for his leadership. Okay, so the answer is we don't know, but not in May, maybe in June. So when we come back in June for some in-person worship, we want to know some things from you. First thing we want to know from you is really, where do you want to do that? Do you want to do that outside? Do you feel like being outside is the way we should start back? It's important to be outside rather than inside, okay? We could be outside here in the churchyard. We could certainly be outside at Flowing Wells Road. Or is it important to be in the church? We need to know how important to you is it actually just being in this church, which has been prayed in and where it's familiar and comfort. How important is it to you to return to the church, just to be able to sit in a pew there, to study the windows, to sit in that quiet, special, and holy place? How important is that to you?
And likely that will be different.
That
right?
will be different.
Right.
So what that means right off the start, because we really did say, when this started, we say, well, we're not going to be able to celebrate Easter. And then we said, oh, well, our first day back, we'll celebrate Easter. And we were all thinking, of course, our first day back will be just like it's always been. The church will be packed and we'll have all the flowers and the great music. And now it's obvious that our first day back won't be like that at all. In fact, it may be a year or longer before we're sitting cheek to cheek and shoulder to shoulder in the cozy pews at Good Shepherd.
And maybe unmasked.
Well, I
Maybe
think
masked.
I think starting back, here's what we can say about that. Starting back, if we are to meet in the church can, according to the guides, accommodate 60 to 80 people. So 60 to 80 people could be in the church, appropriately spaced, maybe a family in a pew, but clearly no more than 2 people who don't know, live in the same household on a pew, every other pew, and I think wearing masks. And I think given what we know about now about the aerosoling nature of that, probably wearing masks coming in and wearing them through the whole service, because then that becomes a somewhat enclosed and contained space. So those are some starters. What have we got, Emily?
Several comments.
All right, let's have them.
Okay, a couple people say yes here in Somerville.
Here in
Right.
Somerville.
Colin Murphy. Vidya Batu, I think that's how you say her name. Outside, safest.
Outside would be safest.
A couple people say Flowing Wells Road would be good, and Colin Murphy says we just have a relaxed to no dress code.
Relaxed,
if we did
no
it out
dress
there.
code.
Yeah.
Right.
Ned Murray
Wants to
says
carry
it'll-
that from home. I mean, I'm wondering, is he going to bring his coffee cup with him, or his
Pajamas.
morning tomato juice drink you have in the morning, or all that stuff? Somebody's already said it's going to be tough when y'all go back. Folks have gotten used to pajamas and slippers, and take your coffee and put your feet up. And, when Andy starts preaching, and you just click it, you come back to it, when you're a little tired of it. All right, so what else? What other comments do we have?
Ned Murray says Italy.
Italy. We should go back to Italy. I don't. Oh, Westminster Abbey. Well, that'd be nice. I mean, get on an
Not right
airplane,
now.
get in a cylinder, you and somebody else, and fly. Spend all that time in an airplane and fly to Italy, fly to London. All right.
Okay, Sandy Bantry says any celebration is good. She leaves it to the clergy and vestry. Ashley Pritchett says, do you think the video service will continue when we come back?
That's absolutely. One thing we do know for sure, but who knows how life will change after this, how the economy may change, or how a lot of our social customs may change, or I guarantee you won't be going to any parties where people are putting their fingers in the same bowl to take out, what do you call that? Avocado dip, guacamole, or something like that, and shells.
Take a bite of it and put the same cracker back in.
Yeah.
Double dip is out.
Okay, so yes, one thing that's here to stay, both for pastoral reasons as well as for evangelism reasons, is we're in the live stream business from now till Jesus comes again, or until a new technology comes out. So that'll continue, and part of that will continue because one of the issues in going back will be, well, what about parishioners who are high-risk people? They're 65 or they have pre-existing medical conditions. So what about them? Will we encourage them to come back? Will we discourage them from coming back? Will we require them to bring a note from their doctor that says they can come? But that's one issue. Who will be kind of left out when we return, either because on one end they are more vulnerable than others, and on the other end maybe families with small children. I think we pretty much decided it will be a while before we feel safe enough to open up a nursery and childcare again. So these are some of the issues we get, and we need your input so we can kind of try and put together an approach that will meet your desires, your needs, your expectations. Go ahead, Emily.
Susan Hardwick says outside worship and then come in to take communion.
Come in to take communion. Okay. All right. Well, outside worship sounds good. Come in to take communion. That's one thing we have not yet sorted out. And if you were with us last week, you know, we spent a little time talking about how do we understand communion and all of that. The mechanics of safely delivering communion in one kind or both are a little problematic. Probably, if we go back to communion, it would be one kind, I would think, just the bread.
I don't see us drinking from a common cup for a very long time.
For a long time.
And I really don't.
We had preliminary idea on that would be kind of, so if you were to come into the church or come to the churchyard, you know, you may pick up your order of service. Obviously, we'll not have ushers passing out orders of service. Good news, we will not have ushers passing the plate, will we? The plate will be there though, by the way. You can just drop it in yourself rather than pass it. But you'll pick up your order of service and you might very well pick up a wafer. You know, and obviously it won't be in a basket where everybody sorts through to pick out the best one or something like that. And they'll be laid out and where you can pick one up. And then I suppose the receiving of communion would probably be like some of us remember from our Presbyterian days or our Baptist days where we're all seated in the pew. And, you know, at some point in time the pastor will say, and now let us break bread together or something, and we'll consume the bread, okay? Yes?
Linda Weir says the elderly people at 8 o'clock church and the younger people at another service.
Another service, okay? A service for,
She says old fogies.
yeah, old folks.
That's her words.
No, mature at risk.
Yeah,
I feel
So-
a profile.
yeah,
Profile.
mature at-risk folks.
Profile.
Okay,
Robert, back to one of my original comments. It's interesting to watch Major League Baseball, the PGA, the LPGA, NFL, and all this. We're going to start having involved, and they pick out a date somewhere in the future. The Masters in November. They're just making this stuff up because we still don't understand the behavior of this virus over a long period of time. It's going to take a long period of time before we understand the behavior of this virus with more information from our scientific community. And so to say we're going to plan to do it in June or July, that's emotional.
Yeah.
And we all want to get back together. I am going nuts myself, and I know everybody else is. We love each other. We just want to be with each other. That's our nature. That's who we are. It's a community of the faithful. But to just say when, you can pick out a date. And then inside, outside, we don't really understand some of the dynamics of aerosolization. Like if the wind's blowing here, it's swirling and all that. You got people here, so can somebody 30, 40, 50 feet over there, and that sort of stuff. Inside, you're more contained, and the ventilation system is such that we don't understand all the dynamics of airflow. And that's, you know, and here again, the transmission of this disease is not clearly understood in scientifically. So there's so many unanswered questions, so our understanding. So we all want to do it. I want to do it. Everybody wants to do it, but we have to make informed decisions and do whatever is safe, whatever that is. And whatever metrics you're going to use to say we're going back then, whether it's 2.5% of the population tested, whether it's the curve down here, or whatever, then we'll make it on those
safety
decisions.
will be paramount. And
Absolutely, safety is paramount.
in many ways, it's the virus right now that is in control
Yeah.
of the situation.
You know,
We'll
the
do
church
what
got
the
a bad-
virus allows us
Yeah,
to do.
the virus is an absolute. We are not in control of this. Right. We are mitigating. We're not controlling anything right now. That's all we're doing.
Well, one of the
And-
things that's obvious is that we're in historical change.
We are.
Right.
And Joe, to segue into what you said, we are still figuring out the virus.
Yes.
And you heard us talk about worship. You all asked about worship. We're figuring that out. But one thing I can guarantee you, and Robert said this already, it's going to be different. We're not going back to the old ways anytime soon.
Right.
So
Okay.
we're still in a process of discovery.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, what's the other comments that we got?
Several. So, tiny cups for communion.
Chinese cups?
Tiny.
Tiny
Tiny.
cups.
Tiny.
Like little wine,
Yeah.
shot
Not Chinese.
glasses?
Shot glasses.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
They make
That's-
a trays with the little.
That's
Yep.
possible.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that-
we talked about, you know, you get your little package with your little wine and your wafer and, okay, go ahead, what else?
and they would. I can't find the comment. Wants to receive it at the altar. The
At the
tiny
altar.
cups. Yes.
Okay?
So also.
The problem there, of course, will be distancing and time. I suppose, you know, you could have 2, 3 people maybe come to the communion. But then there's the administration of it. So that means somebody has to pass it out.
Use your little hand.
And there you go. Here we go. Yeah. Here you go. The body of Christ, right? Pass it out. So that just there's risk of contamination in the administration of it. Yes.
Ashley Pritchett says, describe your thoughts on what the peace will look like.
It will peace. Peace. That's what it'll look like. Now, Joe's got brought a point I wanted to come out of his comment, though, which is tell us, we need to know from you, and kind of what is most important to you. Is it most important to you to get together with some other good church, just to see them, you know, to have some connection, you know, people who are your fellow parishioners, folks you see on Sunday? Is it most important just to get out of the house, come someplace where what we really will be the most meaningful is we see some other folks, and even if we're waving at them from 10 feet, we can say, hey, how are you? It's so good to see you. I haven't seen you since March 8th when Good Shepherd last gathered for public in person. Is that the most important thing? Or is the most important thing listening to Robert Fain deliver a stirring, you know, informative sermon, you know? Or is it receiving Holy Communion? Or is the most important thing, as we say, is just to be back in the church building? And we're not diminishing how powerful and that building is a material, sacramental, incarnational kind of presence in and of its own. It's where, you know, a lot of wonderful things, where people have come in times of great joy. You can feel it, you know, and so it communicates God. So we're not diminishing. Just, you know, but it's very important just to be in that space. You know, it is sacred, holy space, a thin place even. What else do we have? Again, we just kind of just send this in. We don't have to get it all today, but this will help us to shape when we take that step, what it will be. You know, if we're in the church, how will we be by reservation? You have to sign up to get in the church. Will we do it by alphabet? You know, everybody A through F can come, and you'll probably say, get out the directory and say, I don't know. I hate people in that group, you know. All my friends are in G and on up, you know, or whatever. Of course, we can use the parish house as well. We would probably get 40 people in the parish house and do the CCTV. But all right, next comment. This is very helpful. Thank you.
So, gathering the family from Sandy.
Right.
Sorry, the light. Communion, Tracy Conlon, but she says communion is representative of all the above, right? Fellowship, the place. Okay, Colin Murphy says communion. Katie Tracy says our choir and music. Laura Perry says fellowship. Fellowship from Ashley Pritchett.
Yeah.
So it seems pretty evenly.
Yeah, and we know, you know, we know, I mean, we in our old little Anglican way, do you want to see all your friends and have warm fellowship, or you want to receive Holy Communion?
Yes.
And of course, yes. Yes, that's the way we would say. But in these circumstances, we can't necessarily accommodate all the things. That's why we're looking for some comments that help us to prioritize what is most important to the people at Good Shepherd as we return to in-person worship. The music will be tricky because we've already, right now we have 3 or 4 folks in the choir and Jim, and so we won't have congregational singing when we return. Already the studies are coming out that raises the risk of exposure. So we can say we be in the church, we'll be wearing masks, we won't be doing I think we'll have the chance to hear Jim play for us, hear the organ, hear the bells, maybe have a soloist sing or whatever. Right now, those 2 or 3 people are just spraying Jim Nord, and none of the rest of us. He'll probably put on a hazmat suit today to play the organ while they sing the hymns with us. Okay, any other comments? We're here a few more minutes here. We're about 5 minutes away from going to church.
Well, Robert, one of the things that may change, I know Michael came, presiding bishop came out with no virtual communion.
No virtual consecration.
No consecration,
right?
virtual consecration, yes. And I don't think anybody brought it up here, but it's been brought up to me, is why don't we at home with our families have a little bread and wine, and you guys do it because you have this official authority to do that, and we'll do it that way. Well, that would be virtual consecration, which Bishop Curtis has already said no to, but he may have to change his mind.
Yeah.
Depending on where we end up with all of this. And another issue is the reason everybody's so hesitant about all this is this thing called the asymptomatic carrier that can shed viruses with having absolutely no symptoms. We have no idea the penetration of that number of people. We don't. I've seen all kind of things popping up in here and there and everywhere. And until we test large bodies of people, we won't have a sense of that. That'll give us kind of a sense. So that's part of the issue there. Everybody here looks pretty normal. Why can't we all go together inside and have dinner? And we've all been sheltering in place. We've been doing the right things and all that. So that's one of the issues there. Again, here we don't have enough information.
And
I don't know if we'll ever get it.
I think we'd all say the last thing we would want to happen is we're going to hear about Jesus the Good Shepherd this morning, and the shepherd of the sheep, and loving and caring for the sheep like no other. And I think that we'd all say I couldn't sleep at night if I knew that somebody came to Good Shepherd and contracted the virus and got very sick, and their life was either changed for the rest of their life because the virus did damage to their heart or their brain or some of these other things. It seems, as you say, where the indications are it's affecting more than the respiratory. So we don't know that, but if that happened, or if they died, I just couldn't. I just feel like I would have failed. Like we feel like we would have failed, because protecting the people of God is the most important thing. The church has to be as safe a place as it can be for people to, in all kinds of dimensions, for people to encounter God and pursue that relationship, that calling with God. All right, last
that may
comment.
happen anyway. Way down the road from now, somebody may go to church, contract the virus, have a severe case, and die. Because this virus, I don't see that it's not just going to disappear from the face of the earth. It is those coronaviruses which were first discovered and identified in 1960. And they ain't gone anywhere. The SARS-CoV-2, I think, it's not the booger bear that it was, but.
Well, all of life is risk.
That's what I was
You
about
know,
to say the very
there's-
same thing, yeah.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
there's nothing, you know, we all took a risk by getting in our cars and driving down
Yep.
here today.
Yep.
But it is about
But-
appropriate risk
Yep.
and, you know, and you can't, all right, we seem to have one more comment or two.
Last comment.
Last comment.
Okay, Lucy Roth says mandate masks and have services split through the week.
Have what?
Services split through the week.
Yeah, we could do
Perfect.
services during the week, right. Yeah, I don't think we want to do 5 services on Sunday morning, but we could spread them out. I hate that part the most, you know, that you have to say, well, here it is, and who can come here and who can come there, or whatever. But we'll sort that out. Okay.
And do you have to sanitize the church after each
You
service?
do. You will
So
actually
you got
have
that.
to clean
you
the
want to try to
church.
sanitize that place?
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
luck.
it will have to be clean. So we're
All right.
working on that. It's a plan we're calling Back into the Fold, and it's going to involve a number of things. Okay, well, that wraps up our time
Yeah,
today.
thanks to everybody for those
Um,
good comments and questions. Yeah.
Last dance, I guess. If we began with "When will I see you again?" I guess we'll end on "Last Dance." Last dance, you know that is Donna Summer.
Yes, it is.
Is that saying
All
the
right.
last dance for me? Or is that just like
Last dance. Okay. Well, we've enjoyed being here. Thank you please send in those ideas.
Yes.
Or, you know, tell us what is most important to you so we can try and create a response that will serve the needs and hopes of the greatest number of people. And join us at 10 o'clock in the church for celebration of the Holy Eucharist on this Good Shepherd Sunday, the 4th Sunday of Easter. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week right here at 2230 Walton Way. Good morning, Good Shepherd. God bless you. Stay safe out there this day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.